Hello guys, before we get to the actual video, I'd like to just quickly set it up. This was part of our 24-hour charity live stream for Child's Play. If you would like to donate or find out more about Child's Play, we'll include a link in the description below. We'll also throw in links to our social media accounts so you can follow everyone who is involved with this. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and start the video.
Yep.
So give me one quick second to
Standings
disable
are...
the Mario Kart.
Hey, I'll take 5th place.
Oh yeah, let me see. Yeah, let me quickly just show off to view the standings, since it fully ended. Yeah, not bad.
Nice. I could have gotten so many more points had I been able to play the whole time.
Did you have fun at least?
Oh, of course, yeah. For my 4 races at the end, yeah, that was great. and I enjoyed playing Elect Cross in that one race at the beginning.
Nice.
Nice. All right. So let me change stream layout a bit just to reflect the fact that we'll be starting the interview with you guys.
Great.
So one moment. Now I know the overlay just says Ash, but Derrick, you are still here.
Yes.
we weren't certain.
I wasn't certain either,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
We
My
didn't
schedule
want
is
to
always
promise.
up in the air.
Yeah, we didn't want to promise that you would be here and then it not happen. So
Yeah.
let
And then you
me.
just have the leftovers that is Ash.
Wow. Already
No,
starting this
it's.
off.
I'm actually very glad we were able to grab both of you though. I think this.
Derrick is supposed to be the nice one.
All right, one sec. Grabbing an icon for Derrick just for anybody new who joins in to show that he is indeed here.
It sucks, since Derrick's here, I can't talk about my plans to stage a GameXplain coup anymore. Take over the ship. Now I have to keep those plans hidden.
You have a full-time job. You don't have time to stage a coup.
That is a very good point.
Okay, image.
Let me see if I can actually...
Oh, it's rather big. One moment. Okay. Let me just set it in the layout so it's at the right place. Okay.
Now I can look at the chat as well.
Alrighty. So,
Yeah. I'm on
I
the side.
have a document. Wolfman, do you also have it up so we can alternate?
What?
The doc of the interview questions.
I'll find that. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just want to know if we were alternating or not. Okay, let me go through. Since I'm fully ready to start this segment now, I can go through the nice introduction I wrote you guys. Okay. Now that we're done racing, it's time to properly introduce some of our great participants. Just recently, they gave us an amazing review for Sonic Mania, have poured hours of work this summer into their famous analysis machine. These guests are Ash, Paulsen, and Derrick Bitner of GameXplain. For quite some time now, both Ash and Derrick have been gaining more popularity among the GameXplain fans due to their rather frequent streamings and podcasts and even appearances at conventions as of late. So please join me in welcoming Ash Paulsen and Derrick Bitner.
Hello there.
Hello.
Also, I should note, Sai, I'm the one with the Columbo avatar.
Well, thank you for inviting us and having us on. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Alrighty. So, I think first question is something that you guys may have answered. Actually, the thing is, you guys may have answered a lot of these things throughout your various podcasts. So, I apologize if any of these are rather frequent questions for you. But to start off, how did you both end up becoming quote-unquote game explainers?
I guess I should start since I was the first one to join.
Yeah.
And Ash kind of ties directly into me. So basically, I was desperate to get into the industry. So
Mhm.
I had a blog on IGN back when their blogs were actually worth a damn.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you talk to any of the old bloggers, they'll agree. They just
Yeah.
change it to it's yeah. Anyway, I was basically trying to just build up a portfolio. So for the very first PAX East, I decided to go there with a couple of the other bloggers from there. And while they were all partying, I decided to like play many of the demos as I could and take notes. That way I could write up a bunch of articles and post it then on my blog to try to just get more and more attention, because I was also trying to do reviews as well. But while I was waiting in line for one of the demos, it was the press day, and I forget, it was really easy to get press passes at PAX in the early days. Now it's more of a pain in the butt than E3. It's ridiculous. But I was able to get a press pass and had that hour early time to try everything out. And I was waiting in line for Red Dead Redemption, and I happened to be next to one of the guys that was helping out Andre early on, and got to talking to him. I offered up a business card. He gave me his, and after PAX, I basically got in contact with him and was like, "Hey, so I have all these previews I've just written up. Would you guys be interested in them?" that kind of thing. And boom, I was on. I was on board, like free content.
Nice.
So that was back when we just had a website, and eventually these other people left just because of various things that they needed to take care of. They just weren't able to stick with Andre, and Andre moved towards the YouTube space, and that's when I was like, "Hey, teach me how to do it. I'll help." Because hey, you're being successful. Let me be part of that, because I was at the point where was like, I want to start getting paid for this, because it was unpaid up to that point. Just occasionally getting free games. It's like, it'd be nice to actually make this my job. So eventually, that worked out. I started helping out as much as I could, and then I got my really big break when I covered the reveal trailer for Pokemon X and Y, and I think that's when we really started to take off. And speaking of Pokemon X and Y, during that whole first thing, I went to my first E3 with Ash at that point. It was my first one. Ash had gone to a bunch, and we just happened to sit next to each other at this panel kind of thing for
It was the roundtable. It was the Pokemon X and Y developer roundtable.
So yeah, you can take over here, Ash.
Yeah, so this is kind of where I come into the story. I actually began, though, as a fan as well, unknowingly, but I actually used Andre's strategy videos to find some of my missing star coins in New Super Mario Bros. U. So I actually began as a fan too, and then fast forward to that following E3, and I just happened to meet Derrick. I happened to sit next to him at this developer roundtable, and we just got to talking, and he told me he was with GameXplain, and I'm like, whoa, I love your videos. Like, I use your videos to, 100% my file in Mario U. So, I've been covering games independently for years and through various outlets, and I'm like, hey, I'd love to work with you guys. Do you think there's room for me to whatever? And Derrick's like, yeah, let's get you talking to Andre and see what we can figure out. And one thing led to another, and I eventually joined GameXplain kind of on a provisional basis. My first video was a post-mortem discussion with Derrick about Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. And so from that video, and then I guess I started doing the weekly Smash, pick of the day roundups.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, and I would always be introduced as a special guest, and then it started becoming kind of a running gag, because like 40 videos in, they'd still be introducing me as a special guest, and everyone's like, really? Aren't you just kind of like the third person now? And it just kind of, even though I don't do it in a full-time capacity like Andre and Derrick, it kind of worked out that I'm now, the third person. GameXplain. That's kind of how it worked out.
Nice.
Yeah, I just coincidentally, I listened to a few episodes of Ash's dad's podcast, Talking Tunes, and I just so happened to listen to the one that had you on there, Ash.
Right.
And that's how I knew that you were actually a big gamer. Like, I was listening to you, listening to how you were talking about games. I'm like, okay, he's pretty awesome. It's like, this is kind of cool. And so when I saw, we all have the tags and whatnot, and I saw your names, like, I know you had a heart-sinking moment, because my first words were, I'm sorry to ask this, but are you Rob Paulsen's son? And you're like, yeah. It's like, I just heard you on the podcast talking about games. That's so awesome. Let's talk about games.
Well, and to provide some proper context for that. So, my dad, for those of you watching who may not know, my dad's Rob Paulsen. He's a big-time voice actor. He's done, Raphael from the original Ninja Turtles, Donatello from the new Turtles, and he's Yakko, Pinky, all that stuff. So I love my dad. I'm super proud of him. But sometimes growing up, people would only want to talk to me about my dad, which is why I kind of had that guard up against Derrick at first. And now, I mean, like, it's all cool now. And, like, you know, my dad and I do our separate things and we promote each other. But back then, I was like, oh, does this guy really want to talk to me about my dad? I'm here to cover Pokemon. And then it turned out, no, I'm GameXplain, and I really saw, and then of course, everything went great from there. But so that's the context for that.
So, yeah,
that's
basically it.
I'm not just a jerk who hates my dad. I promise. I love my dad. I'm super proud of him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I suppose I should apologize preemptively. I'm literally looking up your father on IMDb just to find all the various performances that I'm familiar with.
You'll be looking at it for a while.
Yeah, no problem.
No, it's huge.
It's a lot of fun to talk about, and my dad's done a lot of cool roles. So yeah.
Oh, wow, that's Eric Roberts' level of roles.
Plus, he's done video games too, so that's been fun for me as I grew up. You know, having him actually be in video games I'm playing, like Metal Gear Solid: Twin Snakes and Final Fantasy X-2 and stuff like that.
Huh.
Gray Fox.
That's actually really interesting.
Gray Fox, yeah. This is a bit of an anecdote, but I'll tell you that some people ask, you know, do you know it's your dad? Can you tell? And you can totally tell. If it's one of your parents, no matter how much he's you know manipulating the voice, you always know it's your dad. And so there's a cutscene where Snake, after I think the second boss fight or the first boss fight with Gray Fox, there's a cutscene where Snake just kicks the crap out of Gray Fox, and it's my dad. So my dad sounds like he's getting the crap kicked out of him, and I got actually really uncomfortable. And I'm like, this is the first time, because my dad would usually do like E-rated games, not a game where he would play a character who's getting the crap kicked out of him. And I'm like, okay, this is a little disturbing in a different way. So I had never experienced that before.
Got to hear the Foley.
Yeah.
Huh. Alright. Well, I think that'll move us on to our next question, which, Wolfman, would you like to ask it, or should I?
You can take the lead. I'm just here as the co-host.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if you wanted to switch off or not. Alright, so, our next question is, can you give us an idea as to how you, in the exact quotes, fire up the old analysis machine, and how exactly does the analysis process work?
I guess this one's more for me.
That's definitely more for Derrick.
Because I don't think you've ever done an analysis. Like, you've helped out on occasion. Like, I think you did help out with the Zelda analysis.
I helped out with the Zelda analysis, and you and I kind of double teamed the cloud reveal analysis in Smash.
Yes, that
We're
is
both
true.
such big Final Fantasy fans, and yeah. So I honestly don't. Unfortunately, again, this is my full-time job, so I often don't have time to contribute to analyses or do full analyses like Derrick.
Yeah. So here's the basic process: download the video, get it into Vegas, and then once it's in Vegas, start basically going scene by scene by scene. And when I say scene, I mean literally every just second, and seeing what changes, because sometimes they're only on there for a frame. You can't just look at it on YouTube and expect to get everything. You can.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot tougher. So having in Vegas in order to be able to go bit by bit definitely makes it a lot easier. And I also have the tools in there to, like, you know, zoom in and like, oh, what's that? What could this be? And try to see what that is. And just all the while taking notes, while also like, all right, at this time I found this, might be this, and just sort of almost like a prelimit script, like a sort of ideas as I go into it. And once I get all the notes taken care of, I pop it into a document and then start looking for common factors, because I want to. You notice we don't always go, and then this happened in the trailer, and then this happened in the trailer, and then this happened. We group it together, and that's when that takes place. We look at what parts basically talk about the same sort of thing, and then cover that all in one go and start writing up the script and sort of seeing like, this ends on this note and that kind of links into this bit, so let's squeeze that in there and do that next. And that's how the whole script writing process goes. And that's also when I sort of take the time to elaborate, maybe look at it one more time as I'm elaborating to see if I know if it still makes sense, maybe I got something wrong or anything like that. And once the script's all done, it's like, okay, time to record. And then comes the fun part of actually recording this stupid thing, which depending on how long they are, that can take a while. Because on average, at least for me recording scripts, one page equals about 6 minutes of recording time, depending on how much I screw up.
Right.
And that in turn turns into about 3 minutes of video. So when you see like a 30-minute analysis, that's 10 pages. You got
Wow.
Andre's super massive like uh, Mario analysis and Zelda analysis. You're looking at 30 pages or whatnot. It's insane. Now he talks faster than I do, so it's maybe not quite. It might be even longer than that in his case. But those are my averages that I've discovered. But yeah, once that's done, you just edit it. You edit up your voice and start looking back through and making sure everything's good, match up what you're saying, make sure it still makes sense. And a lot of times too, I'll be doing something and I'll have this idea, and then I'll be looking at it closer as I'm doing the editing and realize, crap, that's wrong, or crap, there's more to this. I need to actually add to it. So go back in, add it into the script, record it, slot it in there, just continue the editing, and that's the basics of it. Like the hardest part to me is, or the most tedious part is just the audio editing, like getting your voice down, making sure everything's makes sense, and just getting it pared down. Like the note taking is a lot of fun. The script writing, that's when it can be a real pain in the neck, just because you're trying to match everything up, and if there's a lot of notes, keeping track of it all is just a nightmare. But it's still very gratifying, especially when there's the shorter trailers like the Pokemon one.
Yeah.
See it in the beginning of the day, start the process, and it feels really good to just finish off the day by getting that video out there. And it can be a little like frustrating because you're seeing people just do it the short way with like, ooh, see this, and they'll post it on Twitter, and it's like, yeah, but I'm trying to actually craft a script around it, so it makes it a little crazier. So, but that's the basic process.
Well, let me tell you guys too, as someone who's often been a fly in the wall, during this process, Derrick and Andre worked so unbelievably hard on those analysis videos. Like I would love to be able to join them more, but it really the process that goes into making those is so painstaking and so detail oriented. So it's pretty amazing in my opinion what my friends and colleagues have been able to do with those videos. So props to you, Derrick, for doing those videos.
Thanks.
Yeah, as somebody who knows video editing and all that, it seems impressive, and it's just really interesting listening more to the behind the scenes bits of it.
Yeah, I don't have the greatest editing skills out there. Like I've watched other people do videos and have all these fancy tricks that they do, and I'm like, I'm very basic when it comes to my editing. As long as I can like, hey, look at this. That's basically what it comes down to for me. Or like, let's slow it down, which unbelievably it helps out a lot. Like just being able to slow something down for people so they can really see those details reveals so much more. And then I like the fun of guessing. Like here's the evidence. What do you think what do you think this leads to? And it can lead to some crazy theories. It can lead to some stuff that actually comes true, and it also leads to some really interesting research. Like we were talking Pokemon during the tournament, the Mario Kart tournament. During Sun and Moon, I was constantly looking up Hawaiian words. Like I'd see some new term for Sun and Moon, I'd be like, all right, what's that mean in Hawaiian? And that's how I figured out what the eventual names would be for the other islands after Melee. So I was very happy I correctly predicted those.
Yeah, that was actually pretty impressive too.
So, yep.
All right, so you basically answered what the next question was supposed to be, so I'll skip down one more. So did either of you ever expect GameXplain to gain as large of a following as it did when you first really became invested in it?
Man, it's hard to say. I would say yes, because I was already such a big fan of the content that Andre and eventually Derrick were making. But so I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to get involved, because I saw it as a channel that was really on its way up. Like I saw it as a channel whose coverage was of uncommonly high caliber, and I'm like, man, now that I've met Derrick, I want to get in on this, because these guys do great work, and fortunately they were happy to have me. But I don't think I necessarily realized how big or how much of an effect it would have on me personally. Like I knew that GameXplain would get bigger, and it has continued to get bigger, and my prediction was accurate about that. But I didn't quite understand the personal effect it would have, and how my own Twitter numbers would, just now being associated with GameXplain as something much bigger than myself, how my own following would kind of balloon. And so You know, I had a pretty decent following prior to joining GameXplain. You know, a couple thousand, maybe 3,000 followers. But suddenly after, my Twitter's count just started just ballooning, and now I'm like about 10,000. And it definitely has changed the way I interact with social media and be like, okay, wait, now I know that when I tweet something out, it's going to go out to a lot of people. So let me make sure I know exactly what I'm saying, and I'm ready to have a discussion with people who are going to disagree about it. So,
Right.
So it's definitely changed my life in a way, but it's been a lot of fun.
Interesting.
I hoped, but I didn't expect it, because I mean, like, I came into it when Andre had already gotten the channel at up to 50,000. Like, he did that without me really knowing about it. I was just focusing entirely on the website aspect and trying to do as best as I could for that. But it wasn't until I found out about, hey, we actually have a bit of a following on YouTube. Oh, sweet, let me help you, that kind of thing. Like, let's really do this. And then I mean, Andre definitely set the bedrock, but there's something about Pokemon that just drew in so many people, especially with that X and Y analysis. Like, I was amazed when I found out later that it hit over 1 million views, because I never expected that for just a little thing that I did. And let's go ahead.
I was saying, I think I have an idea of why Pokemon kind of helped, and not just because it's really popular. Although that's definitely was a part, is that Pokemon, we were talking about this with the Ghost Girl, but Pokemon is a series that's so, like, drenched in that kind of weird, like, fog of not being sure what things mean, and, like, everything kind of having its own urban legend.
Yeah.
That
it is rife for analysis in that way.
Talking before about the, like, looking at alchemical reactions and, like, the history of alchemy, and with, like, stuff like Project Azoth, which obviously didn't really pan out narratively, but, like, all of that stuff is clearly things that they know, and they're just sort of dicing it in, and you can connect however much of it you'd like.
Yeah.
That
I could definitely see that being the case, because I didn't tap into that, because I didn't really think about it before when I did that. Like, I've said to a few people that the best thing I ever did in college for my current job was get back into Pokemon.
Nice.
Because college was when I the 4th gen came out around then. And so I was like, oh, this looks cool, this looks fun, and people are into it, and I don't care what people think anymore, so yeah, let's play Pokemon again. And boy, did that pay off. But yeah, I never expected us to get this big that fast. Like, we really grew in those early days so fast, and still grow pretty fast. Like, it's shocking to me that we've hit over 800,000 subscribers now and are trekking our way to 1 million, and that's amazing to me. Like, I never would have thought I ever have an audience this large and people that want to hear what I have to say, and it really is gratifying having that aspect.
And I think
people paying attention, yeah.
And I think part of GameXplain's kind of rise in popularity too, like the rate at which it happened, I think part of that can be attributed to this really incredible confluence of, like, readiness and timing, because as we were getting bigger, that was when the Smash hype train started, and it was such a masterfully managed hype train, getting that trickle of daily pictures and daily screenshots and, you know, occasional character reveals, and people kept coming back to our videos for that. And I thank you, Sakurai, because I mean, the way that was done, I mean, they gave us material for like 2 years, just drip feeding of information that we got to speculate about, and people came back for that.
And the sheer fact that because the Wii U was not doing so well and the Wii wasn't doing great towards the end of its life, there wasn't a lot of Nintendo coverage out there. We were actually filling a niche just because of Nintendo. Now it's a little bit more competitive because the Switch is popular, and there's all kinds of channels rising up to capitalize on that popularity. But it's interesting that way.
Sakurai also is another, like, that kind of style is another one that's just really, I think, with GameXplain's style of coverage, because there's always something. Like, you don't wait, like you can have those periods with, like, larger trailers or demos, but then there's also just, like, there's always a steady feed of something.
Yeah.
So it was good to have, and looking forward to Smash 5 so we can bring back the Smash discussions.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they, whatever new content they have for Smash Switch, whenever that happens, I hope it won't be as much, of course, but I do hope they drip feed it to a degree so we can kind of begin that speculation hype train again.
Yeah, I'm sort of oscillating on whether or not I think it's going to be a port or a new thing. I'm still kind of...
I still think a port. I kind of do. I think that's what I'm hoping for personally, but I still think makes more sense.
Yeah, I think in retrospect, and maybe this is just me, keeping the hope alive. I think it makes sense in retrospect that they wouldn't show it at E3 because it is a port, and that's really something where so many of the Switch games are Wii U ports, and I think they would want something that's
new and exciting, like Odyssey.
Well, yeah. I mean, and not only that, but even a port, they know that even a port of Smash with a few new things, characters, whatever, would have absolutely buried not only ARMS, but Pokken Tournament Deluxe. So, looking back, it makes sense that they didn't show whatever they have to show for Smash, because they really need ARMS and Pokken Tournament to breathe, and Smash wouldn't give them that room to breathe.
No, they wouldn't.
And really, they can announce Smash anytime, and it'll do fine.
Yeah, that's entirely true too.
Yeah.
All right, so the next question is kind of similar to the previous one. So, with as large of a following you guys have gotten, it's also become a bigger part of you guys' lives. Did you anticipate that much, or do you even still need to constantly make adjustments to your daily schedule to account for, how big this is for you?
Man, I would say, I guess I'll take this one to start, Derrick, since it kind of more affects my schedule day to day, since I'm not full time. But I would say that obviously it's a huge part of my life, and I did expect that. However, I didn't anticipate the other outside changes my life would go through that have also affected that. So, the full-time job I'm at now is not the same job I was at when I began GameXplain. So I recently actually just got a new job as a producer at What Pumpkin Games, and that is really, so I'm helping to make the Homestuck video game. It's called Hive Spawn. I'm very excited about it, but
that's really cool.
So I'm producing that game, or helping to, and that has really eaten into my schedule. I used to be the senior editor at Udon. We do art books and stuff like that, and the way that workflow was, I could pretty much slot in and slot out of GameXplain's workflow wherever I wanted or whenever I wanted. So I would always be available for things. Now I've had to really work with Andre and Derrick to really have them work around me, because I'm not, I'm constantly engaged at this new job, so I'm not as available for discussions and such. So that's been challenging in terms of kind of trying to reorient my new job around GameXplain. But I have to give my, What Pumpkin credit. They totally were cool with me staying on board, and they're like, hey, we know that the games you cover are completely different from the game you're making with us. There's no crossover, there's no conflict of interest. So as long as you get your work done here, we're totally cool with you staying with it. And I really appreciate that, because I would never have wanted to give up GameXplain. I love GX.
It's scheduling with me is something else. My entire schedule revolves around GameXplain. It really does. It's very tough for me to find time to go do my own thing, and weekends are the best time for that sort of thing. I have found that weekends, it used to not be quite so much that case, but now I'm seeing okay, I do my weekend streams, and then I'm kind of free to go as long as I have something else going up at the same time as well. But because we have daily videos, it is such a necessity to keep up with everything. And because we're more of a news channel, I have to I wake up, immediately check Twitter, see what was announced while I was asleep, if anything, see if there's anything announced in the morning, immediately cover that if so, and then look at what's out, what's coming out, and just start working towards that. And so I couldn't even tell you how many hours I put into GameXplain a week. It's just a constant thing, and I always want to be around to make sure to cover that as quickly as possible, for updates and whatnot, and then working towards to make sure we have other content to sort of fill that up, because it's video after video after video, and people really see that with like a new direct. And direct days are interesting because we get those videos up, then we do our discussion, and then it's like, okay, which of these can we do an analysis on, and let's get to it. And trying to do an analysis while also keeping up to date on all that stuff, or doing a review while keeping up to date on all that stuff. Like, that's why it's really nice to have other people on the team. That way we can sort of like, hey, you're working on this, great, do this update, or hey, this is happening, take care of this. And that's how Andre had enough time to work on Zelda or work on Mario for those analyses, because those took so much time, and it's crazy. But you really have to be dedicated to it, and just throw it out, just make sure you do it. But I also do try to take time for myself, that way I don't go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, and I gotta say, I also credit Andre and Derrick with working around my schedule, because I not only do I have the other job, but I'm also married. So like my time is very much it's different. I don't have as much time to devote to GameXplain, anywhere near it as much as Andre and Derrick do. So I always appreciate that they keep me around, despite the fact that I'm sure my schedule isn't always the easiest to work with. So I'm always very appreciative of that.
You can always find time to make it work. It's just the only thing that because of your schedule and how busy you are, you're always very last minute with getting me your stuff for your own reviews. So
I know.
I'm always like last minute putting those together, trying to meet the embargo, and because of that also you find yourself staying up late to make sure I have everything I need. It's like, just give me a day early.
Hey, to be fair though, Sonic Mania, I got my part of the review to you well in advance.
Yes, you did. We had plenty of time to get that done. So that was good. So, yep.
So, moving on, do either of you have a favorite analysis that was done for GameXplain that either you did completely or at least contributed to?
What about you, Ash?
Man, me, let's see. It might have to be, I haven't contributed to that many analyses, to be fair. I have in behind-the-scenes ways, like just helping with research and such. But in terms of, like, direct contributions, it hasn't been that many, but I have to give it to the Cloud Reveal trailer for Smash, just because I was so hyped for that. And I was glad that I had the free time at the time that it happened, or at the time that it dropped, to really dig in and help Derrick with the analysis based on my own. I'm a hardcore Final Fantasy fan, and so that had been my first chance to really dig in and contribute to something that I personally knew a lot about. Like, I like Pokemon, but I'm not super hardcore about it. I am super hardcore about Final Fantasy, so I was like, oh man, okay, these moves and that moves and summon materia, Leviathan, oh, this is great. So that has to be, I felt like I was really able to dig deep as a Final Fantasy fan and contribute to that analysis in a really exciting way.
Yeah, that was a good one. That worked out a lot. It was nice being able to work together and getting all that in there and taken care of. As far as for me, I always have to go back to my first, like that X and Y analysis, just because it was such a big deal for me. And I can't honestly remember if I can't remember if I narrated that one or Andre did, because it's been so long. Because there was a point where I didn't know how to edit. So what I would do is take all the notes, mark the times like really specifically, and zone in on them, and then write up the script and then send it off to Andre. And that's why he would always have the credit of, special thanks to our Pokemon expert Derrick or Pokemon master Derrick or something like that. However he put it. And so he would read it off until I got a good mic and was able to edit myself and took care of them all. But that was just, it was gratifying a way to really look at that and to see the reaction to it. And it's always fun to get them beyond that. Like there is something fun about covering Pokemon itself, but then you also have these really long ones like it didn't do well, but Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and having like two separate 30-minute analyses just because there was so much content there. They sort of stick out in your mind more and more. But as far as my favorite one, it'd have to be X and Y.
Okay.
I loved, just on a personal note, I was a huge fan of the Sun and Moon one. I know we talked about it before, but it's...
I really was too.
Which one of the Sun and Moon ones? Because there were a lot.
I think, honestly, the first one, like the big one in the summer, the one where they had like the islands, and I forget how much stuff they showed. It was a lot.
They really blew it out rather than just, hey, here's hints of what we're working on, and here's hints of what's different, and go from there. Yeah, well, they really blew it out. Yeah, that was a good one too, just because it was exciting to get that kind of new gen, and especially coming off of Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire having the whole island thing, just really being able to go nuts with what they were able to do. That one was, it was fun, and it was I always like adding that, like trying to like figure out story. That's always been a fun part for me. It's like, ooh, what could this be, or what could this mean for this?
Actually, an Ultra Beast.
Yeah, exactly what's going on, and yeah, there was so many mysteries to look at with Sun and Moon.
All right, so.
Oh yeah.
All right, so next question I have up is about the weekly streams that you guys tend to do. So the weekly streams have become very frequent at GameXplain in recent months, and honestly even about a year or so. And they've become something that many people, including myself, love to watch. Do you guys have a favorite game that you've streamed? And if so, was there a particular reason?
Well,
I have two answers to this, so Derrick, I'll let you go first.
All right. I'll go. I do the majority of streams, just because I do really enjoy doing them, and for me as well, it's just because my lack of time. In a lot of cases, it's my way to play things I haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
Or never played in a lot of cases. A lot of the games I play, I've never played before, and I think that makes it more interesting just because it's blind and I actually have things to say, and I'm not just like, so yeah, do this and this is what this is all about. I guess I can't get into it as much. I always worry that I'm being boring, but when it's blind, I can at least be like, I know people can enjoy the fact that I'm enjoying something for the first time. And,
right.
Going, I guess, off that, Paper Mario and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, those were a blast to play through. To finally experience those, to see people get so excited about me experiencing certain things.
Oh yeah.
And people just getting really behind it. And I'm encountering that again with Xenoblade Chronicles, because people are very passionate about those games.
Right.
That game as well. But yeah, having that little, just getting, like, seeing people really get into it is always really gratifying. That's why I do have a poll going up right now about what I'm going to stream next, and one of the options is Sticker Star, which I've never played, heard nothing but bad things about, but it is on the way to Color Splash, and I really want to play Color Splash. Like, I own it, but I've never played it, specifically because I wanted to keep it for the stream. So
Color Splash is good. It's got a metric ton of flaws, but it also has a lot of heart, which I'm just going to say Sticker Star does not have.
Yeah. Like, Sticker Star is going to be interesting because it's going to be my first ostensibly bad game that I play. Like, I have no delusions.
Name of shameless self-promotion. I'll just say that you could read my article on Sticker Star if you go to sourcegaming.info.
There you go.
Nice.
While we're talking about shameless plugs, and well, not even shameless plugs, but remember, this is a charity stream. And if you go in the info below the stream, you can click the link to donate to Child's Play. Alright, and I will move on to the next question then.
Or Ash actually still...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no
Sorry,
worries.
Ash.
No problem. So I was just going to say, one of my favorite streams was I did a random one-off stream of Mega Man X, which is not only my favorite Mega Man game, but one of my favorite games of all time. And it was a fun stream because I did it just as kind of like a feel-good thing. It was like right after the election last year, tensions were high, of course. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do a feel-good stream just to bring people together, and it ended up being a no-death run out of nowhere. And it emerged as a no-death run, and people know that I'm a huge Mega Man fan. I'm a pretty good Mega Man player, but I don't always get no-death runs on Mega Man X. So that's just kind of, it was a natural emergence of skill that I got to show off as I was playing. On the other side of that, though, is Chrono Trigger, which I also love because that's my favorite game of all time, and I got to stream it. And that was my first long-term, like, week-by-week stream, and I had a great time. People, I would see the same people from week to week who would be following along with my progress. And so I got to share my very, granular knowledge of the game, as I played through it with people. However, I got to the final boss, who I swear to you, I have never died against Lavos, like, accidentally, ever. But I play, of course, it's like the stream curse. I'm playing, I get to the final boss, and I kid you not, Lavos one-shotted me with his his laser nipples of doom, and I wasn't even Lavos, the Lavos core. It was the second form of Lavos after the shell, and his laser nipples of doom one-shotted me, and I just sat there, and I'm like, what just happened? This has never happened to me in Chrono Trigger.
Oh.
It was so.
It's the Let's Play curse.
Yeah.
Exactly, the Let's Play curse, but. People were cool about it. Of course, the chat gave me a hard time, but it became kind of like a temporary meme. But I don't know how it happened, and it was a lot of fun. So those are two memories that really stand out for me in streaming. And I really want to come in. It's been difficult with I've been having some streaming software problems, but I really want to come in and do another long-term stream once Derrick is done with Xenoblade, because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, be a nice break for me as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. Yeah.
Well, definitely looking forward to seeing that then.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So next up, since both of you reviewed Sonic Mania together, and it was the first time something like this happened for you guys, could we possibly see this format of reviews again in the future?
It's possible, but
Yeah.
I would not expect it to happen a lot, because there's a lot of factors that go into it. The biggest one, of course, is actually getting multiple copies to review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually having us both be able to have the time to play through it and get our full thoughts out there and put it together. I think that's the biggest issue, is just both of us getting it. Because have we ever gotten multiple copies before? Like, Andre and I got it, but he was busy with his own thing for
Right.
Splatoon 2, so we didn't do a co-review there.
Right, and I don't think we usually get multiple review copies. That's certainly not the standard. And I mean, of course, we have to thank Sega for, we basically asked for two, just in case they would say yes, and they did. So we appreciate that, and we promised, shored up review content, which we delivered. But it really was very serendipitous, because we didn't go into this expecting to do a co-review. In fact, there was kind of a running joke made out of it between us, how we were gonna fight for the right to review. We both really wanted to play it so badly, like, who's going to review it, Ash or Derrick? There was even a Twitter poll done, which Derrick won. but
I
it was
graciously let you join me.
I know, right? And so, I was expecting, because I don't have as much time as Derrick and Andre do, of course, that as much as I was so hyped about it and is just as big a Sonic fan as Derrick, I figured Derrick was probably going to do the review. Lo and behold, Sega's like, here, have two codes. And I'm like, whoa, Derrick, we both have one. Are we going to do a co-review? And he's like, yeah, man, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, there we go. So it was very fortunate but it was not planned. I would say the chances of that happening in the future are, again, somewhat slim, because it's not the standard. But I would say there's a possibility with Sonic Forces. You never know. So I would say, if you look for that to maybe happen with that game in specific, but I wouldn't say it's going to be the standard going forward.
Yeah, unfortunately not. It's just a lot of factors really need to go into it, and it also helps that Sonic Mania is a short game, because the thing is, we also try to do a lot of coverage about the game afterwards, and Ash isn't always able to do that, and even if he is, he has to send the footage over to us in order to actually put it together into a video.
Right.
So it's quicker to just be able to take care of it myself, which makes it a little tricky. But I'd love to
I
do
harassed you so many times, though.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, Derrick, let me send you footage. Derrick, do you need something? No, I got it, man. I got it all. So I'm like, okay.
I have 15 hours of footage on my computer from Sonic Mania.
That is very true, yeah.
I when I cover a game, I record every little bit just in case something happens.
Yeah. That actually speaks to another weakness, is that my setup, I essentially use my living room setup for gameplay footage recording. I don't have an office for GameXplain work, whereas, Derrick and Andre, they have their monitors connected to their computer and stuff. Like, I have a living room setup, so I have to actually go behind my TV and connect my computer every time I want to stream or every time I want to capture footage. So it's a bit of a, process for me as well.
Yeah. So you guys mentioned the little meme, so to say, of the battle between the two of you to review Sonic Mania. Has there ever actually been trouble deciding who gets to review specific games, or is it kind of settled easily based on who has more experience with certain series?
Honestly, I don't think there's ever that was really the first big time we actually had a debate about who's going to review what, isn't it, Ash?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, in general, it's more it goes down to availability. Like, obviously I'm usually not going to get like games like Splatoon 2 or Zelda because I'm, Andre or Derrick are going to want to do it, and I have the least time to. However, I would never have to fight. Like, I didn't have to fight for Mega Man Legacy Collection or 1 or 2, like, or Miku, anything. Like, obviously, we do get to gravitate toward the series we're fans of, which is nice. So, like, I didn't have to lobby for Mega Man. They're going to give that no matter what, because I know the most about it. So, yeah, generally, I would say that we get to stick somewhat closely to the stuff that we like. It's more a matter of just availability and how, like, I would like to review more, but I obviously can't.
Yeah, like naturally I'm going to be the one to review Pokemon, Fire Emblem, stuff like that. Andre's going to handle most of the Mario games. Zelda is a little bit more up in the air. Like, sometimes I have it, sometimes he has it.
Yeah.
It seems to be like if it's on console, it goes to Andre. If it's on if it's portable, it goes to me. That's sort of the pattern I saw. Because there was a debate. It's like Andre's like, do I want to take Link Between Worlds or do I want to take Super Mario 3D World? And it was really up in the air until he finally decided, now I'm going to go with 3D World.
Nice.
Because he's kind of over the 3DS, so he's ready to move on. So, but yeah, any other time, there hasn't been really much of a debate about who takes what, and it really does either come to interest in time.
Right.
So,
Although I will say, I would love to see Andre review a Miku game. If the next Miku game comes out, I would willingly give it to him because obviously I love those games. But I would pay to see Andre review a Miku game.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
Oh, I know.
So, how often do you review a game where your final thoughts on it are far different from what you initially expected it to be?
That's a good question. I would say not often, and that kind of speaks to what I would say is both a strength and weakness of doing reviews the way at least I do, or the way we do, is we often don't. We have the luxury of being able to cover games that we mostly already really like because we're a Nintendo focused channel. Of course, Derrick and I also really like a lot of PlayStation. We're also big in Square Enix PlayStation stuff. But by and large, we're a Nintendo focused channel. We all like Nintendo, so we get to cover games that we mostly like. So that also leads to the eventuality that a lot of the games, at least I review, I don't go in knowing how I'm going to feel, but I'm not necessarily often surprised by how I feel about a game I'm reviewing. The exception to that was actually a Miku game again, going back to that. It was Hatsune Miku Project Diva X for the PS4. And, I generally like the Miku games, so it's, I don't typically think I'm not going to enjoy one, but that was actually surprisingly disappointing. And I ended up giving it a meh, because it was just, and I wasn't expecting that at all. So, but I would say in general, because we get to mostly review games that we would gravitate toward anyway, I'm not surprised when I end up liking something that I thought I was going to like as a fan, of course,
The luxury of reviewing Nintendo is that their quality tends to be pretty high overall. I mean, there are cases where the games aren't great, but the other thing is that the funny thing is that the games that aren't great usually don't have much fan interest to begin with, so we don't really have to cover them because it's not going to do that well. It's better, our time's better spent focusing on something else. As much as I'd love to review every single thing that comes my way, it's just a matter of how much time I actually have in order to do that sort of thing. And usually, especially if I'm really covering a game, I have a pretty good idea how I'm going to feel about it. You analyze something, you got a good idea what it's going to be like. But there is an exception of a game that I reviewed, and I look back at it, and I'm like, I was far too kind about it. And I think that, and I know why that happened is because I was reasonably. I think I gave Yoshi's New Island on the 3DS a lot, or maybe even a like. I mean, I can't remember. I think it was a like. Then I was like, because it was fine. I know people were getting down on it, but hey, it still has that same explorative gameplay. There's still some neat ideas, that kind of thing. But then I played Yoshi's Woolly World and saw what that really could do. And I looked back at Yoshi's New Island and was like, this game sucks. Like what was wrong with me? I was far too kind, because the thing I like to do is try to go in with as open of mind as possible for a game. And sometimes I can be just too kind because of that, because oh, maybe people will be into this thing, so yeah, I'll give it this.
Yeah, I mean, but we all get one. I mean, when I used to write for a really small little site called GamesAreFun.com before I started, moving on to bigger sites and eventually GameXplain. And I got to review. I was probably 17 or 18 or something. I was still pretty green, and I got to review Twilight Princess, which is a huge deal, for me back in the day. And I was like,
Yeah.
it was a great review. And I fully admit, that we all get one. I got caught up in the hype. I gave it like a glowing review. I think we used a numerical scale, so I'm sure I gave it a 10. In hindsight, no way. I would have not given anything above a 7 or an 8. Like I got caught up in that hype, and I definitely over reviewed it and said I thought it was amazing and wonderful. This new coming of 3D Zelda, when it totally wasn't.
Yeah,
It's always better.
I saw a lot of people back in the day that declared Twilight Princess better than Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah, no, we were all drinking a Kool-Aid, and I fully admit that I got caught up in the hype, and no, it's not. It's not Ocarina. No.
I mean, I could see people liking it more because it does do different things.
Sure.
Like I don't think functionally it's as good. Zelda Hierarchy is basically organizing it by the games I consider great, which is like Wind Waker and Majora's Mask and Link's Awakening and Breath of the Wild. Ones that are good, and Twilight Princess tops that list, and then the ones that are kind of more meh, which are the DS games.
Yeah.
Sure.
Makes sense.
So, from our interview doc, we have one last question, and then if you guys are up for it, we can open it up to chat questions.
All right.
Cool.
So, the last question here might be a lot. So, it's very safe to say that you guys have inspired some of your fans to do streaming and game reviews and the same sort of content that you guys to do, myself included. Do you have any advice for these kinds of fans?
Man, that's a loaded question, huh?
Yeah, like I said.
a little bit.
Let's see.
Like the inspiration. I mean, if you're just starting out, don't expect to be big right away. Like
Right.
I was very fortunate because I jumped in just as we were getting big. I got through all the tough parts because I've talked to Andre before. Like he was basically running out of savings, and things were not looking good for GameXplain. He just couldn't really handle it anymore, and he got really close to just canceling the whole thing. But then his coverage, he locked into something, and certain coverage got a lot of attention. I'm not sure if it was his analysis or guide, or like the guides he did for New Super Mario Brothers U or that kind of thing. I can't remember exactly what, but something just stayed in just enough that he was able to hang in there and decided not to call it quits. And then, of course, we were able to really bounce back from that. But it's really tough because you think you're pouring your heart into it and you're just not getting the results you want. And it can be tough, but you really got to stick it out and just try to find that audience. And if you're really passionate, like, don't do this for the money. Don't do it for the money. It's a
Yes.
bad idea.
Yeah.
It is, just do it for the fun. And if you make money, great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't go into it for the money and fame. Go into it because it's something you would do anyway, and you want to share your passion with other people. That getting popular and making a lot of money, that is something that happens to like the top 1%. And I mean, and kind of piggybacking off of what Derrick said, I got lucky too. I mean, most people don't blow up as fast as Derrick and I have. Like, I got very lucky because I was welcomed into GameXplain as we were getting big. But had I,
Right.
had that not happened, I would not have the followers I have today. I'd have some more, but I wouldn't have grown nearly as fast as I have. So, every person's path is unique. So just go into it to have fun and share what you love with other people. And if you're diligent enough and you work hard enough at it, the money and the fame may follow. The other thing I would say is, well, two things. I would say, A, try not to fall into the cynicism that seems to have infected so much of the game industry and game criticism.
Right.
There are enough cynical people out there already. There are enough cynical reviewers, critics, so many people are, things are just never good enough. And I don't find that to be fun. I like going into it expecting to like a game, not expecting to be disappointed. And
Right.
I try to maintain that. I try to maintain that lack of cynicism. I try to get genuinely excited for things. And when I do get genuinely excited, I share that excitement with people. Like, I'm not worried about being seen as biased or, like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is a great example. I'm so excited about that game for X by himself. I love X. And people are like, man, don't you know Dragon Ball FighterZ is so much better, and why are you terrible? And I'm like, I don't care about that. The roster. I am excited as a Mega Man fan, and I'm going to share my hype with people. And I always feel like hype is looked at as a bad thing sometimes, because you're a sellout, or you're a you're on the payroll. None of us have ever been on a payroll for anything. We just get excited for things we get excited about.
I'd have a much better apartment if I was on a payroll.
Yeah, it's like, so I would say just try not to get cynical and just be excited for the things you're going to be excited about. And the last thing I would say is stay humble. Always stay humble. No matter how big you get, it's, people don't have to listen to you. Having a platform like that isn't a right, it's a privilege. And just keep that in mind. Use that platform responsibly and just stay humble and be appreciative. I am appreciative every day of all the people who choose to follow me and listen to all the crap I have to say about video games. They want to listen to me, and that's a privilege. I don't take that for granted. So just try to stay humble no matter how big you get.
Yep, absolutely. Can't get any better than that.
Nice. Alright, so we'll open it up for the next... We have about 5 minutes left, so in that time, if the chat has any questions they want to throw around, feel free.
Why is that Ash guy such a jerk?
While waiting for questions, I have to say, the reason I became inspired by you guys was actually really funny. I told it to the rest of the Source Gaming guys, and they saying it's probably like the most embarrassing story. It's hilarious, but PAX East 2016, I couldn't go because it was my birthday weekend, so I had family visiting, and my friend had gone, knew you guys were doing like the fan meetup, and like I don't know how he did it, but he got you guys to call me to wish me a happy birthday, and that was just like, to me, like the real...
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I remember it vividly. Like, it was out. Oh, I'm so glad. I had no idea that was the same. Oh, I'm so happy that we were able to inspire that.
Yeah,
it was basically that interaction that told me, like, the interacting with the fans is genuine. It's something you like doing, and that's what inspired me to really go out more. And I started trying to offer help to other channels, and that's actually how I became part of Source Gaming here. But
nice.
Yeah, so fun story.
As long as we're... Oh, go ahead, Derrick.
Well, I was going to say, you really do just need that one spark, because when I was part of the whole blogging thing on IGN, I did apply for an open job there, and it was for an MMO editor. And I don't play MMOs. I'm not even a big fan of MMOs, but I'm like, you know what? To be actually doing this job, screw it, I'll play MMOs. And I applied not really thinking much of it, and I got all the way to a phone interview. So I was like, if I can get to a phone interview on MMOs, I think I can actually get it. And it's just that little spark to like give you that little bit of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I gotta say, as long as we're giving each other props and slops, like Source Gaming, I was, before I had any idea that GameXplain had any sort of, that we inspired anyone with you, I was impressed by your coverage from the get-go. There is a certain level of professionalism in Source Gaming's coverage, and a certain level of fact-checking that you do not see in a lot of video game coverage. It's it's you guys really, in my opinion, rose above the rabble very quickly. And there are also plenty of other great sites out there, of course, but I gotta hand it to you. There are a lot of sites that get started every day, every week, and a lot of them don't make it, but you guys really showed the difference in your quality to me very quickly. So keep doing what you're doing. I think you guys do fantastic work.
I will make sure to relay that to the rest of the team.
Oh, yeah, please.
We're very thankful for you saying that.
Yeah.
I have pretty much no involvement in any of that part of the site. But,
right. Well, please pass it on to the whole team, though.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right. Well, I haven't seen any questions pop up from chat aside from one directed at me, which I answered in there. So... So
fine,
why don't
whatever, chat.
So why don't you guys let us know where people can find you at?
I guess you can follow me on my personal Twitter, which is at BitnerdGX. Pretty simple. Otherwise, keep an eye out on the GameXplain channel. It's always you'll see something from me at some point.
You were totally going to go into your usual outro, Derrick. I know. Keep an eye on GameXplain for more on. I heard it.
Try to GameXplain. Oh, it's easy to fall into that.
No, I heard it.
Like, I'll be trying to do a different type of thing, and I can fall into the whole update spiel that I always do.
Well, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at my name. It's Ash Paulsen, ASHPAULSEN. You can find me at GameXplain, of course. And I'm also, you'll see my name in the credits for the upcoming Homestuck video game called Hive Swap, which we're going to be releasing, eventually. So look forward to that.
Eventually.
And, well, I can't talk about the release date, but I can talk about the fact that I'm working on it. So anyway, you'll see my name in the credits for that. And just thank you guys again for having us on.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
absolutely.
both for coming on. Especially the fact that early on you guys weren't 100% sure, especially you, Derrick. So it was really great getting you guys both on.
Yeah, glad I could make it.
Yeah, no, I'm always down to do collaborative stuff with you guys, and let's play Smash soon. I want to get on and just have an extended session of playing Smash just for fun. Been too long.
All
He
right.
just wants to destroy you. I warn you.
I will message you about Smash later because I want to do that.
I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So next up on here, we have my own YouTube channel, actually.
Oh, nice.
Weehee.
Nice.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to get going.
Yeah,
All right.
same here. I'll go ahead and get off air so you guys can move
Yeah,
on.
Alrighty.
so do your thing. Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys
Thank
again.
You guys.